Hello all. Let us continue this series. News today. This document is by Vision IS only, but I rearranged it for easy understanding. And these are the topics that we are going to discuss today. And I am Yashwant. See, these are the topics. Earthquake in Russia's Far East causes tsunami in Pacific Ocean. India facing growing threats of glacial lake outburst floods. NASA ISRO synthetic aperture radar NISAR satellite launched from Satish Dhawan Space Center, Sriharikota. Central Empowered Committee files a report regarding management of compensatory afforestation funds. United States announces 25% tariff on India's exports plus a penalty to be effective from August 1st, 2025. Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation to reform key economic indicators. Banking Laws Amendment Act 2025 and UN Women. These are the topics which are very much important and picked up from newspapers itself for the dates July 30 and 31st. Let us see the first topic. Earthquake in Russia's Far East causes tsunami in Pacific Ocean. So, if you look at the map here, and this is Kamchatka Peninsula, and besides this, we have these Kuril Islands, and a tsunami of 8.8 magnitude here has caused a tsunami in this region, which is nothing but this Kuril Islands, where this Japan and Russia have a border dispute. And let us understand this tsunami. Tsunami is a series of extremely long waves caused by large and sudden displacement of ocean. Displacement is a movement, right, in a particular direction. Example, Indian Ocean tsunami 2004 is the best example here. And causes, what are the causes of this tsunami? Earthquakes, landslide, volcanic eruptions, glacier carvings, meteorites, and other underwater explosions as well. And most of the tsunamis are occurring in this Pacific Ring of Fire only. This is the Pacific Ring of Fire. And let us try to understand, okay, this tsunami generation sources. So one is this earthquake. So one dense oceanic plate will subduct and it will lift this continental plate, and this upliftment will actually raise the water here, and it will create this tsunami, and tsunami which will move in every direction, and it will try to hit the coast. That is through these earthquakes and submarine explosions, gas hydrate release. It will also create this wavy impact, and it will form into the form of the tsunami only. And volcanic eruption explosions is another way. Landslides and terrestrial submarines as well. If a landslide is moving in this direction, what will happen? Ultimately, the tsunami will move in this direction. And meteorite impact, which is very rare, but it's a high possibility of occurring. So, a meteor falls in this direction, it will also create this wavy like impact. And weather disturbances is the other thing. Air pressure disturbances are also called causes this tsunami. Next, let us see these characteristics of tsunami waves. One is wavelength, other one is wave height. Both you need to understand. What is this wavelength? Tsunami will be in this direction, right? So waves will be like that. But initially the wavelength will be very much long. How do you define wavelength? This is crust, the topmost part of a wave, and bottom part is a trough. Okay, distance between one crust to other crust of the next consecutive wave is nothing but wavelength. Wavelength, and how much height it has rose, that is this amplitude. Amplitude. So if you observe, if this is the earthquake source, near the source wavelength will be very long, amplitude is very short. But when the tsunami slowly reaches the coastline, what will happen? Its wavelength will be decreasing and amplitude will be increasing. Okay, this is the case with tsunami. You have to try to understand this. So these are the two characteristics that you need to understand. So however, when tsunamis approach shallow water, wave amplitude will increase, right? It means that height of the wave will be increasing, because it is reaching the shore. It will decrease the area that it can act upon. So what will happen? The wavelength will actually decrease. The long waves will not be there, and the wavelength decrease, it will impact the height of the wave. So amplitude will increase. So that's what happens here. Okay, and if it has long wavelength, it means that it stores its energy for long periods. Energy will be more, and it reaches the coast. What will happen? Wavelength is decreased. If the wavelength is decreased, energy will be lost. So that is why if a tsunami it approaches the coast, it means that it must have already loosened so much of its energy, even though the disaster will be much more. And what are the consequences? Socio-economic consequences, property loss, loss of lives, everything, right? Environmental will be there, and disruption of essential services and psychological stress will also be there. But what are the NDMA guidelines for tackling the tsunami? NDMA, SDMA, and DDMA are put in place, disaster management authorities, and developing early warning systems like hazard and vulnerability assessment, zonation mapping can be done for India, and effective mitigation measures like land use planning, all these things. Bio buffers can be used like bio shields, mangroves, regenerations. Even coral reefs also stop eroding the coastal region to some extent. Like public awareness, education, all these things can be done. Okay, and tsunami slows down but grow in size as they come ashore. Why? Because the area it will act upon is getting reduced. Here the area it will be more. So what will happen? Wavelengths are very longer, and as the shoreline area is less, the waves are getting compressed here. It means that wavelength is decreased. The decrease in wavelength is reflected in this increase in the amplitude, which is nothing but height. This is what happens in here. So if the wavelength is less, what will happen? Tsunami will slow down. The energy will be very fastly utilized. That's what the problem is here. And next topic is this glacial lake outburst floods. Let us see the definition first. A glacial lake outburst flood is a sudden release of water from a lake fed by a glacier melt. If a glacier is melt and that lake is fed by it, the melting water, and if it creates a flood like situation by sudden release of water, that is this glacial lake outburst flood. Okay, example is this Lonak glacial lake outburst flood in 2023. So let us see here through the example. See if this is this depression that is formed near the glacier, and a glacier melts and it will fill this depression, and if a sudden outbreak was caused and a flood like situation is created, that is this glacial lake outburst floods. They are basically of two types. One is the supraglacial lake and moraine dammed lakes. Nothing complicated is there. You have to break it bit by bit and try to understand here. Supraglacial lake formed by meltwater in depressions on glaciers prone to summer melting. So as I told you, the depressions will be there on the glaciers and it will be filled with meltwater. That is the supraglacial lakes. Okay, and they will be prone to summer melting as well. And the next one is moraine dammed lakes formed by meltwater at glacial toes, dammed by loose debris or ice cores prone to sudden failure. See, for example, this is glacial, and we know that moraine is this falling of debris on this glacier, and the glacial debris will create a depression only. That depression is filled by this meltwater. Suddenly it might lose its compactness, and it will lead to failure, and it will create a flood like situation. That is nothing but this moraine dam lake. Okay, if it's created by moraine debris only. And what are the factors increasing Indian Himalayan regions susceptibility to glacial lake outburst flood? What are the trigger points here? 2/3 of the GLOF events is triggered by ice avalanches or landslides itself. Rest by meltwater pressure on weak moraines. For that, we have this example Chorabari glacial lake outburst flood in 2013. And also we have these rising temperatures 2023-24 have been recorded as the hottest years. Okay, it's very problematic. And also we have this challenge in monitoring 7,500 glacial lakes, which are above this 4,500 meters, because we have a very short summer window. In that duration itself, we have to measure everything and we have to understand that. And the next one is India's mitigation strategy for this GLOF risk. What are the mitigation measures? Committee on Disaster Risk Reduction, NDMA. And the next one is National Glacial Lake Outburst Flood Risk Mitigation Project in 4 states: Arunachal Pradesh, Himachal Pradesh, Sikkim, and Uttarakhand. Next, Central Water Commission now monitors 902 glacial lakes. Okay, let us discuss this Central Water Commission as well. And the last one is this synthetic aperture radar imagery is being used to automatically detect any changes. If a glacial lake size is grown bigger or even it is shrinked, that can be observed through this synthetic aperture radar. Okay, it is also understandable from this NISAR project of India and ISRO and NASA. Now come to the Central Water Commission, and we have Central Groundwater Board and Central Groundwater Authority. Central Water Commission, as mentioned here, is a technical board. It researches and also observes the problems, and all these technical side aspects of the water in India is taken care by Central Water Commission. And next one is Central Groundwater Board. Central Groundwater Board is a scientific and technical body. It's focused mainly on this groundwater only. And Central Groundwater Authority, it's a regulatory authority which has this quasi judicial powers as well. Okay, it will also issues NOCs, no objection certificates also, and it is established under EPA 1986. So it's a statutory body, Central Groundwater Authority. These are the differences in different bodies that we have regarding waters and generally about water. The next topic is about Central Empowered Committee files a report regarding management of compensatory afforestation funds. So here we have the Central Empowered Committee, and it files a report regarding management of compensatory afforestation fund. What are these compensatory afforestation fund? Firstly, see, compensatory afforestation, the topic first came into picture through this Forest Conservation Act of 1980. It means that if a forest area is diverted for industrial use or any other commercial use, that diverted forest area, some kind of afforestation must be done. Okay, that is nothing but this compensatory afforestation that was mentioned here in Forest Conservation Act of 1980. And we also here the report is saying that India achieved 85% of overall compensatory afforestation target. But who has highlighted this? Central Empowered Committee has highlighted it. Central Empowered Committee established by Supreme Court itself to oversee the environmental and conservation matters. Along with the CEC, Supreme Court also asked the government to come up with this compensatory afforestation fund. Then only we have all these legislations around it. Okay. See, for example, this compensatory afforestation fund 2016 has been created, originated from Supreme Court orders in T.N. Godavarman. So T.N. Godavarman case, it's very important for understanding the definition of a forest. It was very much in news last year, and it will be in news forever also, because it's about this forest. And in T.N. Godavarman case, Supreme Court said that every area that comes under the definition of forest in a dictionary, that will come under this forest only, and that will be covered in this Forest Conservation Act 1980 for this compensatory afforestation fund. Even if it is outside of, the area is outside of notified forest areas, notified areas. Okay, not only notified forest areas will be eligible for compensatory afforestation. No, Supreme Court is saying that any area, any land parcel that comes under the definition of forest from a dictionary, that will also be eligible for this compensatory afforestation. That was this T.N. Godavarman case. Okay, to briefly say, actually T.N. Godavarman is actually a tea estate owner. So tea estate owner in Kerala, I think. Yeah. So what happens is that behind his estate there was this timber mafia going on. Timber mafia. That area was not under this notified forest area of government. So what is going on? This timber mafia is not paying anything for this compensatory afforestation. So he went, T.N. Godavarman went to Supreme Court and put a PIL, public interest litigation. And then Supreme Court has come up with this T.N. Godavarman case, where they defined the actual meaning of forest. Okay, this is the whole case behind it. And they created this compensatory afforestation fund management and planning authority, CAMPA, at national and state level. And what are the issues with the release of CA funds, which are highlighted by the Central and Empowered Committee only? Delay in annual plan of operation submission, multiple approvals at state level despite national authorities clearance, understaffed CAMPA offices, monitoring gaps are there, misuse of funds are there. All these are the problems highlighted by CEC. So this is not just a point, but this is actually very much useful in critical analysis of CAMPA if they are asked in your mains question. And what are the recommendations of Central Empowered Committee? Strengthening institutional mechanism. CAMPA must meet on regular basis. Enhance monitoring and transparency. Geotagging and online disclosure of CS sites such as this e-green watch and Parivesh. You should mention these things in your answer. E-green watch, Parivesh 2.0. Other recommendation is streamlining the fund flow, ensure timely APO submissions. Yeah, those things. And this is about this compensatory afforestation management and planning authority, advised to set up CAMPA in 2001 under chairmanship of Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, established in 2006. And compensatory afforestation fund comes under this public accounts of committee, account of India, where 10% will go for the center and 90% will go for the public account of state. Remember it. Okay, if you want, pause it and read it more. And the next topic is NISAR, satellite launched from Satish Dhawan Space Center. What is this NISAR? NISAR is the first dual frequency radar imaging mission. So what we are trying to do with this NISAR, we are trying to image with high resolution of the movement of earth, any changes on the earth surface that can be detected using NISAR. Okay, but what is the peculiarity here? It is the first dual frequency. Okay, making a major milestone in India US space collaboration. Okay, what about this NISAR? Let us see here. Earth observation satellite, and it it images every 12 days, orbits every 97 minutes, including International Space Station. Also, it takes only 1 hour 30 minutes to complete a rotation around Earth. So this NISAR also orbits Earth every 97 minutes, and it takes images for every 12 days. And weight is this much. That's not so important. What is the launch vehicle here? GSLV F-16. But the unique thing about this is that generally for placing a satellite in sun synchronous orbit we use PSLV, but here we are using GSLV. Okay, GSLV is typically used for placement in geosynchronous transfer orbit, that is 35,786 kilometers so far, but now we are not going that long. We are only placing it in the sun synchronous orbit only. Okay, that is the key point here. And what are the key features here? Built around ISRO's I3K spacecraft bus, synthetic aperture radar, dual band operating on both L band and S band. L band is developed by NASA, S band is developed by ISRO. And what happens is synthetic aperture radar actually sends out a pulse of energy here, pulse of energy, and the energy is reflected back, and that interaction will be able to create the images. That's how we are trying to create that image with high resolution, and we can detect the changes if any happen. And expected mission life is for 5 years, right? That's about this NISAR project. And now let us understand the sun synchronous and polar orbit. Sun synchronous is nothing but to be put in place very easily. This is sun. That satellite has to face the sun all the time. For that, what we need to do, this red marking is this Earth's equatorial belt, if you can understand simply, and this green color thing is nothing but this sun synchronous satellite's position. So no matter what direction it will go, it will always have a sun's face, right? See, for example, here December, March, June, 09, September. Take any month, the orbit will be facing the sun. Okay, that is the sun synchronous orbit, and the polar orbit is one rotates on this axis. That's it. Next, coming to this bands, what are the bands? L band and S band, right? So we have this L band, C band, X band, KU, K, and all these bands. See, for example, KU and Ka bands are used for DTH. DTH, you know DTH, right? Sun, dish, and everything. So we have, based on this frequency, based on this frequency, we have different bands. So L band is developed by what? NASA, and S band is by ISRO. we'll be using this electromagnetic spectrum bands, and we'll be developing that. So we have two bands, that is why it's first dual frequency radar imaging mission. Okay, briefly that's about the project. And United States announces 25% tariff on India's exports, plus a penalty to be effective from August 1st. What is this penalty? So actually, so the reasons for current tariffs, well, let us see here. So right now we have this trade deficit. It means that India is not having trade deficit, but actually USA is having trade deficit within India, because we are in a very good position when it comes to India US export market. So yes, goods trade deficit with India was 45.7 billion 2024, a 5.4% higher. So that is why they are trying to discourage India's imports into USA. So we have this tariff put in place for that. And also second point, India's alleged non-monetary trade barriers. What kind of trade barriers? Non-monetary, such as agriculture subsidies was one there, amber box issue with WTO we see all the time, sanitary and phytosanitary measures is there, all these things. And India's BRICS membership, the bloc, this bloc is nothing but BRICS, is viewed as US by the US as anti-dollar. Why? Because within this BRICS countries only, what we are trying to get, mutual agreements are being put in place, de-dollarization we are trying to get, bilateral agreements in their respective currencies also we are trying. So it is actually an anti-dollar thing. That's what USA is looking at. So India is also a member of BRICS membership. So why do we have to have a good um, like a trade deficit with India? So that is also another reason for this trade barrier. And India Russia relations, so USA Russia always like such a cold war will happen, right? So but India is buying oil from Russia, so that is not very happy for USA in its proposed Russia Sanction Act 2025 aims to impose 500% duties on countries that buy oil or other petroleum products up to. Okay, what are the potential implications of tariff imposition? It will create this bilateral agreement, pressurize India to fast track negotiations. And also let us see here, we are already trying to grow like $500 billion by 2030, but if we are imposed this much of tariffs, what will happen? It will impact our bilateral agreement, right? And also trade competition and competitive disadvantage. You see, India is getting tariffed at 25%, but Vietnam 20% only, Indonesia 19% only. So there is this competitive disadvantage, right? And impacts the exports. India is the largest exporter of non-patent drugs to USA. That will be impacted now. Supply chain disruptions will be there, and it will push the costs. It will inflate. All these are the things here. And the next topic is one much more important one. MOSPI to reform key economic indicators. So what are these key reforms proposed? Gross domestic product base year is revised to 2022-23 from 2011 and 12, along bolstering data sources. Now here GST is going to be included, e-Vahan portal, UPI data, all these can be used. MCA 21, RBI Commerce and Industry Initiative, this one MCA. And Index of Industrial Production, this is also 2022-23 from 2011 to 12. Consumer Price Index, that is also very revised from 2012 to 2024. All these are very important here. And conducting annual survey of service sector enterprises to measure the formal service sector along the lines of annual survey of industry. Okay, annual survey of industries, I already told you in previous classes. For UPSC EPFO you should understand a basic about that. And for service also we have, industries also we have, and now we are trying to have it for service sector enterprises. And household consumption expenditure survey used to happen for every 5 years, now they are trying to do it for every 3 years. These are all the changes that are being brought up as a key economic indicators. Okay, next one is Banking Law Amendments Act 2025. Actually it has come up in 2024, Lok Sabha passed it in 2024 only. Now central government notified 1st August 2025 as the date of key provisions of the Banking Law Amendment Act 2025 to come in force. And what they are trying to bring the changes. RBI Act, Banking Regulation Act, SBI Act, Banking Companies Act, to strengthen the governance. Let us see the key changes here. Substantial interest limit has been raised from 5 lakhs to 2 crores. First update since 1968. What is the substantial interest limit? For example, if I have a 100 crore company, so how much I need to put in place in the paid up capital? It used to be 5 lakhs, but now the minimum is now 2 crores to have a substantial interest of my own. That is the point here. Okay, or you can also pay 10% of the paid up capital. That's another case. Just for example, I'm trying to say here. So substantial interest is nothing but that minimum amount of money that you need to have that voting rights or whatever, that thing. It has been raised from 5 lakhs to 2 crore now. Cooperative bank directors, excluding chairpersons and full-time directors, their tenure has been increased from 8 to 10 years. It is in line with the 97th Constitutional Amendment Act. That is nothing but they are trying to strengthen the cooperatives. For that, they have increased it from 8 to 10 years. That is in line with this 97th Constitutional Amendment Act. And public sector banks can now transfer unclaimed shares or funds to the Investor Education and Protection Fund and allowed to pay statutory auditors. If you are paying someone good amount, what will happen? You will get a good service. So it will help attract better auditors. That's what it's about. Banking Laws Amendment Act 2025. And the last topic for today is UN Women. So UN Women marked its 15th anniversary. It was just a coincidence. Please don't think put a woman in the last here. Okay, right. Recently, UN Women marked its 15th anniversary. Where is this UN Women headquarters is? New York, USA. Origin 2010 by UN General Assembly resolution and serves as secretariat to UN Commission on Status of Women. Just have a good idea, that will be enough. What is the governance structure here? General Assembly will be there, ECOSOC will be there, and UN Women Executive Board. All three will be together and will be taking care of the governance of this UN Women. UN Women Executive Board constitutes representatives from 41 member states elected to 3-year term by UN ECOSOC. Okay, International Court of Justice by General Assembly as well as Security Council. But this UN Women, that is done by UN ECOSOC. Please remember ECOSOC. All these are 5 are the principal organs of UN. Okay, that's about it. Hope it is useful, and see you in the next class. Thanks.